Parking garages have a really long driveways. Is that a cave? By Lord Rebecca Summer. Chapter 3. Summary. Bruce wishes shit like this would happen to someone else for once. Bruce sighed and pinched his nose in exasperation. Why is it always him? Why can't dumb things like this happen to anyone else? He took another deep breath to try and calm his nerves. Dick, go collect his sister from wherever she is. Tim cut in. She's about 3 miles up the road, driving in circles. My guess is that her tracker got her this far, and then stopped. On it, Dick said, leaving the water bottle on the ground, halfway between Danny and where Dick had been standing, since the teen flinched back from Dick when he stepped closer. Get off of Jason. She slid off his back. He was still smothering giggles. At least he was home and having fun, even if it was probably at his expense. Danny, how did you get into the cave? Danny stood up quickly from grabbing his water bottle and looked frightened, stepping back towards his car. How do you know my name? He demanded. And Jason spoke up. Kid, your sister has been shouting it through the phone for the last hour. He looked down at the phone in his hands. Oh, oops, I was trying to find the parking garage for her apartment, and then I turned right, and then there was a tunnel, so I kept driving because I would pop up into the sunlight at some point. That's how it works. That's how it worked. That's how it works in Chicago. And then I just didn't, and end up here in your very nice cave full of hopefully non-rabies filled bats. That was a lot of words. Jason laughed again. This kid is a riot. He pouted. Not a kid. Cass walked up to Damien and Danny. Name? She asked, pointing at the glowing green dog in Damien's arms. Oh, how Bruce hoped it wasn't radioactive. Oh, Cujo, you can pet him. She smiled and started petting the dog on his head. Cujo started to wake up, panting in joy in Damien's arms as Cass scratched his head, and Damien looked fascinated with the dog. He hoped learning about glowing green dogs didn't lead to yet another pet in his house. Steph wandered over to the group. Why is he green? She asked, and got permission to also pet him. The dog was in heaven with all the new friends. Danny shrugged. He's a ghost. Bruce had to compute the new data, ghosts. That was a new one. He sighed and made a mental note to contact the Justice League dog and see if any of them had more information. Hopefully information that was not from Constantine. Alfred walked up to Bruce and handed him a water bottle. Might you try and not adopt this one too, Master Bruce? Bruce sighed. I don't adopt every black-haired kid I see. Jason snorted. Could have fooled me. Well, now that all the excitement is over, I'm going to bed, Duke announced, grabbing a juice and a snack from Alfred's cart. A series of good nights echoed through the cave from his kids. Danny looked up at Bruce. Really sorry about breaking and entering your house, Mr. Batman, sir. I didn't think I damaged anything, but if I did, I totally can pay for it. Probably. Most likely. Do you accept precious material and gems? There's like a whole castle full of them in the ghost zone. Ghost zone, Tim whispered in confusion. Anyways, I'm like super bad at directions when I'm not flying. Streets are confusing. I usually just go for it wherever I want to be. But in a car, I get so turned around, and I'm in a new city, so that doesn't help. And then the parking garage entrance was on discount Lois Walker Drive, and I really hate driving on that, and honestly, just try not to. Does he mean Lower Walker? Does he mean Lower Walker Drive? Bruce knew there was a third level, but it was just called Lower Walker Drive. Was this a meme thing? Bruce sighed again. Probably. Holy shit, you're a phantom! Tim exclaimed, and then he started, Psh, what? No! His eyes started around in panic. Bruce took another closer look at the teen. The facial and body shape matched to the hero, if inverted. He was from Illinois, if the license plate was valid. He does vaguely remember the Justice League Dark mentioning something about a thin whale in a small nowhere town in Illinois, and that they were keeping an eye on it. They didn't have contact with the local here yet, though. Bruce had plans to bring it up at the next interdepartmental meeting. Phantom looked like a normal teen, and even if he was hundreds of years old, he was still a hero and should have access to resources if he needed it. Guess they were making first contact. Danny was safe from further interrogation when Duke drove back in on his motorcycle, leading a cherry red Volkswagen Beetle Convert turbine into the cave from the main entrance. The car stopped next to Danny's, shut off, and a red-haired woman, Jazz, hopped out and over to Danny, not paying any attention to the rest of the people around them. Are you okay? She asked frantically. You don't look hurt. They didn't steal your organs, did they? What is it with you two and stealing organs? Dick asked. They looked at him in unison. Danny's eyes flashed a bright green, similar to Jason's when he's angry. After one quasi-government agency tries to kill you again, by stealing your organs, you learn to watch out for others, Danny deadpanned, as everyone's expression darkened. That all but confirmed him as Phantom. Also, kill him again? That is not what Bruce liked to hear. You took care of them, right? Tim asked. Danny beamed. Oh yeah, don't worry, my parents took care of that. They won't be bothering anyone ever again. Steph leaned over to Kaz. Did he just imply that his parents took down a whole government agency by themselves via murder? Kaz moved her hands up and down, palms facing the sky. Probably. Good, Jason declared. I agree with Todd, Damien said. Bruce sighed. He really hated it when his kids agreed with murder. But he did agree that it was good that the agency was gone. What were they called? He asked. We can run a few checks of our own and make sure they aren't hiding in wait. Danny stared at Bruce, sizing him up. He had a look of suspicion on his face. How do I know that you will actually help, unlike weird trenchcoat guy? Bruce held back a groan. What did Constantine do now? Or didn't do, he guessed. He said they hadn't made contact with Phantom yet. Jazz spoke up at Bruce's unspoken question. We saw him wandering around town for a few days, always after the ghost fights. Wouldn't talk with anyone, but he was eyeing the guys in white right before he left. We waited to see if he would be back and do something about them, but Danny was kidnapped before he came back, so we guessed he was with the Justice League since there was information online about a guy in a trench coat around magic things when the Justice League was involved.
Is that seriously their name? Guys in White? Like Men in Black? Tim asked.
Danny laughed, which sounded much better than his sobbing earlier. No, that's just what everyone in town calls them since they wore completely white suits. They were the Ghost Investigation Ward. That's immensely impractical, Damien concluded. I know, right? We had a lot of fun splanting them with paint balloons one day. So much glitter, Chas whispered, horrified. Tim tapped away on a tablet, setting up a search for the GIY. Bruce hasn't heard about them, and he hoped that they were as gone as Danny and Chas said they were. Tim asked the duo some follow-up questions, narrowing down the search, and started on ghosts and what the power sets were like, what they looked like, and how to stop them. Danny explained something about a thermos and that he was actually friends with most of his rogue gallery. The really bad ones got locked up in ghost prison. Bruce held back another sigh. He was just like Flash, befriending all his rogues. Cass locked eyes with him from besides Damien and Steph. She lowered her right hand, palm facing her chin, away from her face, and into two fists, palms up, trustworthy. He nodded in acceptance. He helped Alfred separately hand out juice and snacks to everyone, including their guest. Chas eyed him with suspicion, but opened the juice and snack and ate them anyway. Danny had already devoured his without a second thought. Bruce glanced at the time. It was an hour past patrol start time for the night. He placed a hand on Tim's shoulder to get him to pause in his questioning. "Why don't you spend the night?" he asked Danny and Chas. "It's late, and I would hate to have you drive back now." Chas and Danny looked panicked. "Oh no, we can't," Chas said. "We'll be fine. Danny hardly ever gets lost when he follows me." "That's not as encouraging as you think it is," Dick retorted. "Maybe Bruce would have to put a tracker on his car in case he got lost again in Gotham." "We insist," Alfred said. "I can ready some guest rooms, and we have some pajamas you can borrow. In the morning, one of the family can escort you home. Really, you don't have to go through all that trouble," Chas insisted. Damien stepped forward, dog in his hand, and fully awake now. "I require more information about your dog. I believe he would get along with mine, and we must introduce them. Must stay to do that." Danny's expression softened. "Well," Alfred could sense that they would stay the night, and wandered back upstairs to get 2 connected rooms ready. "Danny," Chas warned, "it's just one night, and Gotham was confusing enough in the day. Who knows where I would end up this time? Could be an actual villain layer with someone that would steal my organs." "Do we even have a rogue that steals organs?" Jason asked. "Dollmaker," Tim said, without skipping a beat. Bruce had forgotten about him. He wished he still had forgotten about him. "See, Chas?" Danny said, waving his arm at Tim. "Some Fruit Loop named Dollmaker could steal my organs. I don't think Batman would let a guy like that in his house with his army of children." "Dude, you're younger than most of us," Jason said. "Dude, shush your face." Dick and Steph laughed at the offended expression Jason was making. Come, Pennyworth. We'll be getting your rooms together. I will show you them. Damien started walking away. Cujo whined and jumped out of his arms. Damien yelled in fear and tried to grab the dog to prevent him from falling to the ground, but he density shifted through his arms and bounded through the air to hop around Danny, coming to a rest at chest level. Oh God, the dog can also fly. Just what Bruce needed, a glowing green flying dog with density shifting powers. Danny started petting his dog, not worried at all about the flying, and speaking in baby speak to him as they followed. Yeah, buddy, you're gonna get a new friend. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Danny, Bruce called as the duo climbed the stairs. In the morning, let's talk about how the Justice League can help Phantom. Danny blushed. Sure, Mr. Batman, sir. Call me Bruce when not in uniform. Danny saluted. You're right. Yes, right. Bruce, man. Bruce, sir. Oh my God, why am I like this? Bruce's children started to snicker around him. The Dree continued up the stairs. Chaz leaned over to Danny. You know that was Bruce Wayne, right? Of Enterprise? Bruce Wayne is Batman? What? That was the last straw for the kids, and they all stood cracking up with laughter. Danny glanced back at him, face bright red and a look of pure mortification on his face. Bruce waved back sincerely. The young man was still learning. Bruce could tell he was good about thinking on his feet in serious situations. Even if he had a panic attack when he had gotten lost, and at the thought that they were organ harvesters, he would make a good addition to the Justice League as a junior member for now, and a full member in a few years. Tim, please rewrite the protocol for the tunnels to flag all entities that aren't a registered car, and redo the permissions to the truck bay entrance. You're right, a lot of cars do flag that entrance, and we can't keep letting that happen. Stop by on patrol and see why that is.
Sure thing, Bruce. We could add some camera recognition, so if there's a car in the tunnel that isn't tripping the sensors, we would be alerted. Sounds great. Work with Oracle to get that set up. Let's get going. We are already late.
Bruce watched his kids chatter to themselves as they made their way back into the changing area to finish dressing up for patrol. Ghosts, huh? Things were going to get a lot more interesting.